Welcome back, everyone, to the show. Today we have another interview. We have Oregon offensive lineman Marcus Harper. Welcome to the show, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Appreciate y'all for having me on, man. For real.
Yes, sir. It's great to have you. We've been wanting to get an Oregon guy on, and so you're the first one.
I appreciate that, man.
But we're going to start off with the same question we kind of ask every guy we get on here, and that's just, when did football start for you? When did you develop a love for the game? At what level was that?
Yeah. So for me, football was pretty much like late. I started football my freshman year of high school, not really thinking it was going to amount to anything. Kind of popped on the scene very quickly. Uh, I kind of knew quickly that football was going to be something special. I remember I was playing. I was playing versus Sandburg High School my freshman year, and I was at left tackle originally. So then I pulled. We had like a tackle trap pull, and I kicked out the defensive end, and then his helmet went flying. They had to kind of like take him off the field and stuff like that. And I just remember being in the back of the huddle, like, everyone had to huddle up. And, one of my receivers, he asked me at the time, he was like, yo, like, who did that? And I just kind of was just like, that's me. And just for that moment on, like, that one small like hit kind of really like, okay, you can make some of this football thing. So from that moment on, I kind of just took it from there.
And you said that was your freshman year?
Yeah, that was my freshman year. That was my first year playing ball.
So we know your nickname is Big Mark. So have you always had that size to you, or is that something you acquired over time?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a bigger kid, but I guess like me being bigger for football since kind of grew over time. And me playing football, it kind of just stuck with me more naturally. My dad, he kind of calls himself like the original Big Mark. He's I say like 6'6", 6'7".
Gosh.
But he never got to the high school. He never got to the college level for football. And so I kind of took that and kind of took it and ran with it and kind of elevated that name. But no one really called me Big Mark really until I started getting offers piling in my sophomore junior year of high school. And from there, that's kind of when the name started taking on like kind of a mantra of its own. And then Big Mark kind of just became the thing that everyone started calling me.
So what made you start playing football in high school? Was it just kind of
Bro, it was my dad's choice, really. I wanted to play a little bit younger. I wanted to honestly play like middle school because, middle school, like everyone's playing basketball, football,
yeah?
baseball, the main three sports. And, you just want to get closer with some guys that in classrooms with and stuff like that. I was about maybe 5'9", 5'10". I was more so like 5'10", 5'11". And so basketball wasn't really like promising. My seventh grade year, I was like the manager on the basketball team. So like I maybe played in like 3 games sparingly. Like I didn't really do much. Then that next year, I actually made the eighth grade team, losing a bunch of weight and kind of grinding from that point. But then again, I'm still like the fourth center on the depth chart. I'm looking at myself. I'm like, okay, like I have the body size of like a big, 4'5", but like my height just isn't there. Um, and so I was like, you know what, I'm not even gonna try to chase a dead dream. You know what I'm saying? And I got
Right.
to high school, like I probably grew to maybe 6'2", my freshman year of high school, and I was just like, you know what, it don't really serve me no purpose to try to do nothing on the basketball court. But like I said, it was cool going up in there and seeing what football had to offer.
Were you just mainly or exclusively football all the way through high school?
No, so I did football, and then my offensive line coach Tom Cicero, he kind of forced me to do wrestling. I appreciate him for that now. I also did what else did I do? I told you I wrestled. Um, that was pretty much it. I just did football wrestling. Once I kind of figured out that football was my niche, I kind of just took it and ran with it and was like, look, like all these other sports, I'm done. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even gonna mess around with them.
Yeah, I would think you're coach because I know a lot of people look at wrestling background and that's like a check in the right box for you. So,
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then I know, so you said once you started getting offers, that's when Big Mark kind of became that big name. And that's one thing I wanted to bring up is your offers. So starting out, you get offers from Louisville, Duke, Purdue, Michigan State, Nebraska, Boston College. And then we were talking about it earlier. You briefly committed to Illinois and then decommitted. So take us through that process, your thought process, and everything as far as, what made you pick Illinois. We know you're from Illinois. Was there any thought process in that? And take us through all that process.
Yeah, so I mean, Illinois at the time they were they recruited me very hard. Obviously, they had a lot of guys in that class that were very touted in the state of Illinois. So that class was AJ Hennon, Jaden Thompson, Denver Warren. I don't know if you guys remember him from way back. Um, okay, this is another name that's slipping. But there was a lot of us in-state Illinois guys that were like, okay, we are we're very talented and highly were known nationally too. And so the whole, mantra was like, okay, let's keep the in-state people in state. Let's keep the in-state boys in state. That's the biggest thing about Illinois. We were getting, lost to a lot of guys that were, Mizzou, some of the neighboring schools. And so they were they made it seem very appealing. They had a lot of older guys that were leaving. And my biggest thing looking for the next level was trying to figure out a school that I can come in and kind of make an impact quickly, because I'm confident in my abilities. I know what I'm able to do out there on that field. So I was like, let's find a spot where I can come in and kind of make an impact fairly quickly. So Illinois kind of presented the opportunity. It was maybe a 45-minute train ride from my front door, 2-hour car ride from, it kind of made sense. Parents would come out there and things like that. And I remember Coach Mike Bellamy, he was a running backs coach, and he was just like, bro, like, I remember me and Kevo Wesley, we were at a visit one day, and we were just sitting there. We was like, yo, like, a lot of these East St. Louis boys kind of taking our stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, they was kind of getting them first for the photo shoots and all these different things. And he was like, bro, it's going to take one of y'all to commit. And I pride myself in being bold, all that other stuff. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to do the first one, so I'm going to be the first one to commit. And, my head, I was like, okay, a lot of other people going to come through. And I sat back, got home, reevaluated like a lot of my offers and things like that. And I looked around, and then I was like, you know what, like, it was kind of an impulse decision, kind of, in the heat of the moment in that recruiting spiel. Does it really set you up where I wanted to be now? So that's kind of what the quick turnaround took. And so that's kind of why I was only committed for like 3 weeks.
And I know you visited Purdue, right?
Yeah.
What
That was interesting. That was another school who, was very promising. I think if it wasn't that year, it was the year before. They had beat Ohio State for Big Ten fans. It's almost like a bucket list. It's always to beat the Buckeyes. And so they had beat the Buckeyes, and they were just like, same thing. They had a lot of kids. It wasn't the in-state kids, but there were a lot of kids that they were recruiting from different parts of the country, trying to put together another Grand Slam class. So they caught my interest too, and I was like, okay, it's not Illinois, it's not directly at home, it's still a neighboring state. It's probably like an hour and some change from the front door, maybe 2. So my parents and my family, they could still come see me if they needed to, like it was still close and things like that. And so that's what prompted me to go to Purdue, and they were honestly one of the big schools that still heavily recruited me while I was still committed to Illinois. So I was like, you know what, they weren't gonna deny me, based off of that, which I respect that a little bit.
So then what made you finally decide to commit to Oregon?
Yeah, so I had never taken a trip out to the West Coast ever in my life. Came out to Oregon. Mario Cristobal and Coach Alex Mirabal, they hosted me, on my official visit out there. And, I got out to Oregon, and it was just something different about the spot. And it's hard for me to kind of put into words what got me to commit to Oregon and what got me to kind of, pull the trigger. But, it was just a feeling out there where I was like, okay, this is something different. This is something new that a lot of guys from, Chicago don't get the opportunity to do. And they were in the same situation like Illinois was. They were, okay, they got a lot of seniors getting out of there, and they need a lot of spots. I know for sure that their offense, is replicating. I could be implementing their offense like to perfection. That speed, that quickness, everything. That's my game through and through. And so I sat there and I was like, you know what? The sacrifice of me being able to not have my family be there was something that I kind of looked at. But I remember Trey Benson, he was there on the official with me. He was like, bruh, you're going to mess up at some point in life. Like, it's inevitable. You know what I'm saying? He was like, why don't you mess up 2,000 miles away from your front door? So, like, as a man, you know kind of how to, wiggle through all this stuff. And you're still in college football versus making those same mistakes outside of college football. And now you're kind of, held accountable. You're still held accountable, but, it's a different, twist to it. And when he said that, I was like, and I kind of trusted the football side. I knew what I was going to do on the football field. So that wasn't a shocker. He said that, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to come out to Oregon. So kind of commit on the spot. And I stayed true to that commitment all the way throughout my senior year of high school. And then, here I am.
So committed to Oregon. How confident were you in your choice in Oregon? And then when you got to Oregon, how confident were you that, hey, I'm here now and I'm ready to make an impact?
Yeah, confidence for me has always been there. I'm going to be honest with you. When I saw a lot of the guys that were leaving, I was like, okay, this is an opportunity for me to come in as a freshman early on and make an impact. And I was more so just trusting, looking at seeing where I could improve immediately, and how quickly could I get into the lineup. And I remember it was only freshman year, again, it was a short season. and it was just maybe 6 games, but still, me and Jonathan Dennis, who I think is at Louisiana Tech right now, me and him were the only 2 freshmen that broke the starting. I mean, that were in the 2 deep, and I mean, for most guys, it's like that's not heard of. You know what I'm saying? Like you see a lot of guys, they kind of got to wait till maybe their second or third year to kind of break the starting lineup. And for me, that's what year 5 of football. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
I already knew like, okay, I might not know everything that I know now with football, but I know enough where I know I can come in and make an impact and kind of, do what I need to do on the college level. And so, yeah, we kind of just came in there and I was just like, look, I know what I can do. And I know I can add to this line. And, for those first couple of years, it was just being in the 2 deep. So it kind of hurt knowing like, okay, what's the missing piece? But I always knew I could make immediate impact.
Was there ever a moment when you got to Oregon? It may have been spring ball, it may have been the first game. But was there ever a moment when you got there and you were like, okay, I can see how this is a jump in competition from high school?
Oh yeah, it was easily the first practice. So that's that fall camp actually. When we kind of got the season was reinstated, fall camp comes all of a sudden the fourth, and I remember one-on-ones happening, and it's me versus Brandon Dorless, and the old Brandon Dorless, I will call it 90 when he was in 97 when he was starting to kind of pop on the scene.
Yeah.
So it's him, and it's me versus him, and I call myself, trying to jump set him and things like that, and he just quickly swipes inside, and then goes back again, and kind of beats me around the edge, and I'm just like, okay, that's kind of when I knew the difference in competition. Then I think I was doing the drill. It was like 9 on 9 or something to that regard, and Austin Fayu was the defensive tackle, and Austin Fayu, he grabs me, yanks me down, and like I pop right back up. And I think Austin Fayu at the time was like 21, 22. And I was just like, bro, there's no way I just got demoralized by like a grown man like that so quickly. And so I was like, you know what, I'm just all right. It's gonna be a lot tougher than I thought, but I'm gonna still come in, keep fighting every day.
Absolutely, and it showed. It probably paid off. We're looking at it 3 years starting experience, 0 sacks in 3 years. That's a big exclamation point. That's unheard of. That's crazy. Talk us through that. Is that just something as far as your capability? That's just something you pride yourself in, or talk us through that whole like all 3 seasons 0 sacks. Talk us through all that.
Yeah, so I mean, that wasn't something I promise you I never thought I would do. Um, I knew I was a great football player, but to see it kind of expand to that is again I didn't even think of when I first got into it. So after my first year, I kind of got my feet wet. When Landon's first year like that happened, and then the second year happened, I was like, you know what? Like I only gave up. I've given up a couple pressures and things like that, but no one's been able to touch me. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to like the pass pro game, and obviously I want to be a well-rounded player. The run game is something that you still got to pride yourself on as offensive lineman and things like that. So I wasn't going to try to shy away from that, but again, like you said, that pass pro is like it causes blinking lights, right? So I was like, okay, 2 years, but some people are going to always have their debates. They're going to be like, okay, well, you never really went against no premier talent, and I mean, you can make an argument, but I don't care who you are. Like no sacks in 2 years. That's whatever. So then we come to the Big Ten. I was like, okay, this is where this record for me can kind of get held true. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
This can kind of be proven to be like, okay, this is either something that's like, okay, you really like that, or it was kind of like quote unquote a fluke. And going into the Big Ten, I had a lot of games circled where I was like, okay, these are for sure premier talent, defensive linemen, interior defensive linemen, national leader on everyone's draft board, mock board, all this and the fourth. Let's see if this still holds true in the Big Ten. And to come out of the Big Ten too, again, that 0 sacks again against some premier interior defensive linemen. Your boy is true for real. And again, there's a lot of people I'm pretty sure out there, very few who probably have a year where they have no sacks or whatever. You can't 3 years in a row. That's unheard of. You know what I'm saying? The only person I could think of that has that record was Dominic Cooney, the right guard for the 49ers. Mm-hmm. And you see he got drafted in the third round. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like kind of putting that into perspective of like, look, a lot of guys don't do what I do. You know what I'm saying? And no matter how you try to finesse it, you can't take away, 3 years, no sacks.
Absolutely.
You talked about when y'all moved to the Big Ten, you had games circled because you knew you were going to play some premier talent. And you were there when you played in the Pac-12. What was the locker room like in the the organization when you moved to the Big Ten? Was it like everyone was serious now, or is it like what did that kind of look like in there?
Yeah, I mean we heard that. I mean, you want to talk about we heard that talk from the year we were still even in the Pac-12. You know what I'm saying? we didn't let that really phase us. We knew the brand of football that we played, and our mindset with that was like, how is everyone going to adjust to us? You know what I'm saying? Like everyone in the Big Ten kind of is the same in the sense of they very big and very hard nosed football, which is fine. But when you add something different in there, how are people going to adjust to that consistent speed, that consistent power? Especially when everything is tempo and up tempo, is quick, is fast, it's all the setting for. How are people going to adjust to that when all notoriously Big Ten is just like down those, slower paced football. And so that was our mindset. We weren't going to really try to look at it and be like, oh, okay, how are we going to adjust here? Just that, we had to make some adjustments, but that was our mindset. Like they're going to have to adjust to us more than we're going to have to adjust to the Big Ten.
And you played with some serious talent there at Oregon, especially at quarterback. You had years with Bo Nix, now Dylan Gabriel. What was it like blocking for those guys? And what were they
Yeah, I
like in
mean,
the locker
both
room?
they both are very highly touted quarterbacks. I mean, again, both of them are Heisman finalists. Again, that's something else that just no one, there's not a lot of people in the country that can say they blocked for two Heisman finalists back to back. They both have their own different styles and flavors and very different energies that they bring to the locker room. But again, that they are both just leaders through and through. They're great quarterbacks. They command the offense like that, and they're both very confident. And they both are. It's completely opposite. Like one guy is very. I don't want to say Bo is very stoic, but Bo is very about his business, very, very, very professional. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And not saying Dylan isn't, but Dylan is more of like one of the guys. He gonna try to get everybody involved and everything like that. That family piece is very, very. He's very open about that family side to him. So it's just fun to see two different dynamics and two different processes, and both get the same result. Being champions, both being Heisman finalists. Like it's just crazy to be like, oh wow, they're both two different people, but they still got the same results. So it was great blocking for both of them. And having seasons behind both of them is something I'll never forget.
All right. You also, on that line, you played with guys like JPJ. What was it like playing behind guys of that caliber and, being teammates with those guys?
Yeah, no, they're all good. It's everything. Um, it's very cool to see. You always want to see like where you are relative to like good teammates and things like that. And I have I had Forsyth 1 year, and I had JPJ the next year, and then I played with Josh and all these other highly touted players. Like it's crazy to see like, okay, you're in that conversation too, because like you're playing on the same line with these guys. You know what I'm saying? These highly touted guys that you know they make amazing blocks, solo, but a lot of the combination blocks that gets done, that's with me as well. So it's kind of great to measure yourself up and look yourself like comparison with these guys and be, okay, you're up there with these guys too. So again, for starting football young, like there's nothing that you thought was in the works, but it's crazy to see like, okay, how I guess quickly the ascension happens.
So, we talked about it a little bit, but in the locker room with all these type of guys, and especially like JPJ, anybody you clung to as far as leadership wise, you're talking to them as far as, hey, if I see this, what should I do? If this happens, what should I do? Tell us a little bit about the leadership aspect of it, and did that play a factor in you being so good and so talented in your career as a football player?
Yeah, so when I wasn't playing, I really, really, really looked at the older guys that I had in front of me. So I had the George Moores, I had the TJ Basses, I had the Alex Forsyth. Um, I just had all those guys around me. So like any question I had, I was always asking them like, okay, what is this? What is that? You know what I'm saying? So whenever my time came, like I was ready and I knew what it was. Um, and so honestly, when I got in, like it was just like never missed a beat. You know what I'm saying? Like there was nothing that I hadn't seen, especially playing with those guys. Because when I hopped in, there was a lot of guys. They were in like they were on the 6th year, and they had been playing collectively for I want to say like 3 years at the time. So my biggest thing was making sure like I wasn't the oddball out, making sure that I was just the guy that was like showing that I could be in there with those guys too. So I kind of had to learn on the fly, but it wasn't nothing that I was foreign to. My O-line coach Adrian Clem at the time, like he broke it down and made it a lot simpler to digest. And Alex Maribal he gave me a great foundation for football and things like that. So it made the transition a lot smooth. And so when it was my turn to kind of be the leader and kind of, talk about things, it made it a lot easier because all those guys were underneath the tutelage of like Forsyth and all those other guys. So they knew what we were trying to get done, what we were trying to accomplish and things like that. So it wasn't that bad.
Absolutely. And then I want to talk about heading into the football playoffs. y'all were the 1 seed. So how confident y'all as a team going into that, and then take us through, that whole process going into the playoffs as a number 1 seed.
Yeah, so we looked at the number one seed. Honestly, we were real happy because, again, everything that everyone said that we couldn't do in year one, we did. We came in, we dominated in the Big Ten. And not only did we dominate, we won the Big Ten championship in the first year. Like,
Right.
there was nothing looking forward that saying that we weren't going to be able to win a net, right? So when the playoff bracket came out, we saw we had Ohio State. We looked at it, we was like, bro, we've already beat these guys before. And not saying that it was going to be not saying it was going to be easy bout, but we knew what it took to beat them the first time. And there was nothing that you weren't going to be able to. There was nothing that you couldn't tell us that we couldn't do it again, And again, everyone says the same thing, like, oh, it's hard to beat the team twice. It's hard to do this. It's hard to do that. Yada yada yada. But we really didn't care. We had all momentum moving forward. The break, that long break was kind of twofold. Like, we needed it because, again, for 13 weeks we were just going, and it was just heavy hitting every single day in practice, all this and the fourth. But that break we kind of got our bodies back. A lot of guys got our bodies back, and we was ready to rock and roll. Like, we knew the playoffs were going to be an extended version of the regular season. We had like 3, and the way they set it up, it was going to be 3 gruesome games. But our mindset was like, okay, what could you say about us now? Like, we were like, okay, we're taking the game by game. But if you were looking forward, we was like, okay, there's nothing that you couldn't throw at this team that we were going to digest and kind of hit it all 10 toes down. So we were confident going into that game, and taking a month off of football doesn't do no one justice. I don't care who you are or how many times you practice. Like, nothing is good for a game. Nothing helps prepare you for the game like the game. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it was we kind of got going a little bit too late. But I mean, to say that you lost to the national championships and you beat the national champions in the same season, like, where how close is Oregon to winning the national championship? So we're not that far off. And I mean, there's a lot of great talent on both teams. We played that game. You got Will Howard, great, phenomenal quarterback. And it's just like, you can go down the list of everyone that played in that game, like NFL talent through and through. So,
absolutely.
Sure. Speaking of NFL talent, you recently declared for the draft. You told me a little bit about your draft training off camera, but kind of go into that. What does that consist of?
Yeah, it's kind of really pretty much the same thing that we did in Oregon. I'm quite honest with you. But instead of like conditioning to get in shape for spring ball, I'm kind of focusing on 40 times and starts and L drills and things like that. But it's a different process, but it's fun and it's new. And the group of guys that I got out here make the process a lot easier. Again, a lot of guys out here just come from sometimes some smaller schools, some play some big time ball, some have played ball for a long time. It's kind of cool to just hear everyone in there, where they're at on their journey in the football world. And all just kind of just to, just a new process for everybody in terms of like, we're away from college football. We don't know what the future holds for us in terms of like where we're going to play at next year. And it's just cool to see that a lot of those guys just, just kind of band together, kind of block that out and just, hey, we're just going to focus on this 40 today or this L drill or whatever,
Basically, it kind of goes hand in hand. I want to ask you your most confident thing going into this draft that you're for sure that you have over other people. And then I wanted to ask you what's one of the things, like a flaw-wise, that you're trying to work on and improve the best, whether that be 40-time, L drill, whatever the case may be. Give me something that you got going in this draft that you're fully confident on, and then another thing that you're trying to work on right now to improve.
Yeah, so I would say my athleticism is a double-folded answer. My athleticism is my most confident attribute, my twitchiness, my explosiveness. A lot of offensive linemen lean into that big slut, that bigger, mold for them, which is fine,
right.
To each his own. But I know for me, the being able to, go 3 years, no sacks and things like that, and especially this year playing some premier rushers, like you got to be in there, you got to be able to match and mirror, their twitchiness and things like that. And that's a thing a lot of guys just can't do. That I do at a very, very, very high level. And then also too, I would say being with that athleticism sometimes, and I'm not saying I'm smaller by no means, but I don't play at the heaviest sometimes, what I'm saying? But that is one thing I would like to show, that I can be a little bit bigger if I need to and still move and kind of be that efficient and that explosive and that fluid like I would at a quote unquote smaller weight. And so those are the only two things that I'm working on, being able to just really show through my numbers that like I'm one hell of an athlete, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I just happen to play in the trenches,
So going up to second, third level, that's not a problem for you is what I'm hearing.
No, it's not. No.
Absolutely.
Well, we wish you the best. To end it off here, we have some questions from stuff we wanted to know, stuff we usually ask our interviews, stuff people have sent us on Twitter, Instagram, all that kind of good stuff. But the first question we got, who is the hardest lineman you've played against? Who gave you the most trouble throughout your college career?
Who gave me the most trouble in my career? I forgot his name. I don't know his name. Washington last year, their D tackle. It was 90 something. I don't remember his name, or I don't remember his number for sure. But he gave me a hard time for sure. He was big. He was around like 340. And his ability to like kind of defeat double teams and split double teams. We were very, very, very heavy on like GT counter and power and things like that year before. Him, Mason Graham's not easy to block either. I don't want to give, though Mason Graham is very, very, second and third moves are very, you got to keep your feet alive for him. And shoot, Kenneth Grant, yeah, both of those guys, he's big too. But yeah, I would say those three would kind of top off as like three hardest to block.
Absolutely. I got a question for you. Throughout your college career, who's your favorite offense lineman that you'd like to be in a combo with going up to the second level to get some linebacker action? Who's your favorite?
I'm going to be so honest with you. That combo between me and JPJ is lethal. Yeah, me and JPJ, and it was crazy because I don't think we never ran like mid-zone a lot 2 years ago. Me and him got moving on a single block with a defender or something like that. It was disgusting. Like, it was bad. We're both road graders and we're both real powerful.
I was about to say, y'all are both like athletic and powerful dudes.
Yeah, so it would be a tussle for trying to see who would get the pancake on the block or who would get the credit for it. Because we both would just we'll grab our guys and throw them and kind of will both fall on top simultaneously. So it'll be like, okay, who really got that block? But yeah, I would say without a shadow of a doubt, me and JPJ.
So does that mean if Vegas is calling, that's going to get you a little hype?
Vegas calls and me and JPJ get to run those singles back, it's about to be something dangerous. I'm going to be so yeah, it's yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which away team that you played had the hardest environment to play in?
Hardest away environment. I'm gonna be honest with you. That Washington 23 team, that was that was something for real. Because that sea of purple. I don't know if you guys have ever been up to that stadium. It's not the biggest by no means, but it's very, very loud. And they're right on the water too. All their fans, they love the Huskies up there. Yeah, that Washington Stadium was loud because we've played at a lot of big stadiums, notoriously. I played at the Shoe, I played in the Big House and things like that, and they held a lot of people, but they weren't as loud. I would say that Washington crowd for sure they had a lot of people and they were loud.
That's a good answer. I like that.
And then let me get your pregame ritual before every game. There's something you do. Are you super, you have to do something before every game?
Yeah, I would say for sure after I finish my pregame warm-up out on the field, I try to, most of the offensive line, we always kind of stay in a corner or something like that. And I would dap up all the offensive linemen, then I dap up the GA, and then I'll finish it off. I'll talk with Coach Terry and kind of dap him up. And that's kind of everything I would do every single game. And then kind of got to get some gum chewing, get my music going, and then kind of go rock and rolling from there.
Is there one song that you listen to, last song before you go out? Is there anything in particular?
I'm either playing some Jay-Z or some Lil Wayne. It kind of just depends on, what I'm feeling right now at the moment, but it'll probably be something from the Carter 3 or the Carter 5, or something from the Blueprint, one of those three albums. And so
can't go wrong.
It's morphed over the years for sure.
Absolutely.
Do you prefer noon games or night games?
I prefer noon home games and no, flip it. I prefer noon away games and home night games. Yeah. So it's just if you're noon and you're away, it's easier. You're probably done at you're on that plane at least no later than 4 or 5, and you're home by 9, depending on how far you are. So I just give me the noon if I had to do a noon, but it had to be away though.
Yeah, everyone we talk to says that they can't stand away night games.
Away night games are terrible. The latest one we played last season was at UCLA, and luckily UCLA isn't far from Oregon, but I mean, kickoff was at either 8 or 9 p.m. and it was 8 or 9 p.m. Game didn't finish till like midnight, and you get back and it's like 2, 3 in the morning. Like that's nothing you don't want to do. I don't care who you are. Like you don't want to make that long travel. So I say that for sure.
Another thing, you walk into a gas station, give me your snack of choice, drink, everything like that. What are the go-tos that you're getting?
Yeah, we got purple wild berries, share size Skittles. Purple wild berries, share size Skittles, and we're gonna do that, and we're gonna do the Sour Patch Kid, the watermelons, and then we're gonna do a blue raspberry Calypso, mandatory.
Mandatory. I like that, dude. That's awesome.
Lot of sugar, dog. I don't do too many of those now during draft training, but that cheat day that I get, and I got a local gas station right down the street. That purple Skittles is my go-to for sure.
What is it about purple Skittles? Because we keep getting that answer.
Bruh, this the best of everything. Like, something about that wild berry, I don't even know what it is. Because if you try any of the, okay, which flavor do you like?
Like of Skittles?
Yeah,
I don't know. I think sour is hard to beat.
sour. See, that's a lot to deal with. I'm not trying to be puckering my face that's just a lot.
Okay.
I'm gonna be real.
Purple's good.
That's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. I liked them when I was like 8 or 9, but I'm gonna be honest, like, as of lately, like that's just too much to deal with all that. Because then, okay, you get to the bottom of the bag, you put the bag, you get all the sugar crystals that come out your pocket. That's something extra you got to deal with. Wild berry, because everyone's had regular. All the newer flavors are too exotic. Purple is that's a great bag. That's a great bag.
I'm gonna have to try wild berry. I've never had it before.
You ever had them?
No.
So what do you eat? So all right, what's your gas station?
I'm a hot Cheeto guy, dude, all the way.
Yeah, no, we're done.
give me an all subs burrito, some hot Cheetos, and chocolate milk.
Golly, your stomach does not like you at all. God, that's terrible. I'm gonna be honest with you. You like hot Cheetos and chocolate milk in the same snack.
I'll side with the chocolate milk, but I don't know if I can go with them together.
Yeah, that's wild. Because then you got red fingers, and then you got to. Yeah, that's
give me all of that. That has my name written all over it.
Yeah, you are a different breed. I'm sorry, I couldn't do it, my guy. Hey, more power to you. More power to you.
Okay. We know that you're from Illinois. Does that mean you were a Bears fan growing up?
Nah, I'm gonna be honest with you. I wasn't even a football fan until I got into the game for real. I was a Bulls fan, so Chicago.
Okay.
Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah, Luol Deng, like those are my guys I was watching growing up, and it was they can never get past the Heat. But I mean, you got LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh on your team, and then you got Mike Miller coming off the bench. You got all those guys. It's like, but yeah, that Chicago team, that was my favorite sports team growing up.
Big basketball guy growing up.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, but I'm telling you, if it wasn't for the hype thing, the basketball was my go-to. But I'm not bad. I'm not mad. I'm in football neither.
Absolutely. We got one big question we ask everybody. Always excited to hear their take on this. Lose a Super Bowl by a game-winning field goal, or lose it by getting blown out?
See, I've had both. Honestly, give me the last minute field goal.
Gosh, that's terrible.
And the reason why I say that, because okay, for sure you went down to the wire, and then the football guys just gave the other team, they just had more time on the clock and they executed something small. When you get blown out, and I know what it's like to get blown out, there's so many drastic things that you could point to be like, okay, what was the reason as to what the blowout was? When you come to a 1-point game, it's almost like, okay, like if you flip it, like that's us. You know what I'm saying? It literally just came down to the wire. What was the Rams and Patriots Super Bowl when it was 3-3 all the way up until the fourth quarter or something like that? I'd rather take a Super Bowl loss like that than if it's who was TCU Georgia? What was the national championship a couple years ago?
TCU Georgia.
Yeah,
that's terrible.
I'd rather take the 1-point loss.
I see that.
I think we're kind of flipped on the answers. We usually get very one-sided answers. Like someone really wants to lose by a game-winning field goal, or they either really want to get blown out because they don't want to.
Yeah, I honestly, I just take the 1-point loss, dog. I can much rather take that one.
David here is heavy disagreeing on that one.
Yeah, I'm rather get blown out.
You rather get why?
That's a heartbreak. I would hate to be sitting there all game and see I'm playing my butt off and then just lose. That would destroy my heart. I'd rather just see dude, yeah, they're better. They're better. I'm gonna sit on this bench. They're better. Give it to them. We'll get them next year.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm more heartbroken because it's just like, pridefully, I'm just like, bro, like, there's no way that they're beating us this bad. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I would much rather be like, all right, bro, we gave it all, everything we got, and it just didn't flip our way that time. Like, I would much rather take that.
I see that though. That's the best. I'll give you this. That's the best explanation yet.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the only way I can see it. If it was like pridefully, I'm like, yo, like, they really just whooped my tail. Like, I'm not a fan of this. But I mean, and again, there's so many extra factors you could play into it. It's like, what was the reason why you got blown out? 1 point loss, dog. That came down to the wire, and you gave everything you had, bro. It's almost like I could live with a 1 point loss versus like a complete blowout.
I get that.
Fair. All right, last question we got before we let you go. If you could not be an athlete, if that was not your job, your career, what job would you?
Oh, I'd be a WWE wrestler for sure.
Okay, I like that.
WWE wrestler right now. Now, I don't know what my character would be, like all that. I couldn't come up with none of the details, but yeah, WWE superstar, absolutely.
He's been thinking about it a little bit.
Yeah, but I remember I wrote a paper in like 6th grade, and that was like the thing that I wrote, like WWE superstar. Like, I had the whole little spiel out, like, I'm gonna fight the Undertaker, tag team with Hulk Hogan. We come out of retirement, man. Yeah, WWE superstar for sure. Or if it wasn't even athletics, I say a lawyer.
Okay.
Like arguing somebody down for sure.
WWE superstar. That's the best answer we've had yet.
Yeah, WWE superstar. Yeah.
There you go.
That's legit.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, you got anything else?
That's pretty much it, man. I mean, we can end it right here. Great podcast. I'm very thankful that you gave us the time to come on. I want to wish you the best, and I hope very much that we can see that combo come back to life in the Raiders, JPJ and you, man. I'm excited.
That'll be lit, man. Tell JPJ, tell them boys upstairs to come grab your boy.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on, man.
Appreciate y'all for having me, man, for real.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.